looking good, Italian Job.
I'm feeling good, Tommy Boy. It is an exciting weekend. This is the Easter weekend for those that celebrate the Christian holiday. Today is Good Friday as we're recording, and I'm reminded, Tommy Boy, you can't have Easter without Good Friday, which means you can't celebrate the joy of what's on the other side until you go through the trials and the pain in the forefront. So, Tommy Boy, I set the stage by saying, how you doing, man? How you feeling?
I'm well. It's a reflective day, certainly. We had our cross ruck here in Greensboro. Big event. We had about 55 folks across F3 and FIA, as well as community members who showed up. Just really powerful opportunity to be together. Covered about 3 miles. Carried a lot of weight. I'm sure the people who just showed up are like, who are these fools and what are they doing? And yet, inevitably, by the end, people are really profoundly impacted by just the concept of life is hard and we're not alone in it. And in order to enjoy the highs, you got to be able to withstand the lows. And that's certainly something that you don't want to do on your own. And that's so right. With that message, we had a really big start to the day at 5 a.m. and covered a lot of ground in downtown Greensboro. I think we had 3 police officers roll up and ask what we were up to, and then within 5 seconds are blocking the intersections for us. So nice. The message goes far and wide. But how are you, man? How are you, my friend?
I'm good, bud. We are the kids are going to be out of school starting today, so we're going to find some fun stuff to do. You know, a lot of folks travel for spring break, and during the pandemic, our family started doing something a little bit different. Instead of going on trips, since we couldn't go anywhere, we were all locked in our houses, we started bringing the trips to us. So we go on trips through food. So this year, we are going to Egypt, we are going to Paris, and I think we might be going to South America. But that means that we're going to eat food from those countries. My kids will make banners and put them up on the wall behind the dining room table. And it's just something we do. We started a few years back. And so we are traveling far and wide this year, Tommy Boy, and I'm looking forward. I've never had Egyptian food, so I'm looking forward to seeing what that is.
Save me some of those Egyptian leftovers. I'm not sure what it is, but
I don't either. I'm sure your wife could prepare them with her catering business. I'm sure she could churn out whatever Egyptian food it is. I do know that the Amazon cart had some items in it that I've never heard of, so I'm assuming they're spices. I have no idea. I'll find out and let you know how it goes.
I hope you haven't upset your M. They may not be spices. You never know.
Could be poison. If that's the case, please attend my service, whatever that looks like, and wear an F3 shirt while you're there.
Yeah, make your own coffee for like a week. Just do that.
Just in case. Hey, what are we talking about today, and who are we talking to?
Well, you kind of made a nice segue there. It's about, trying new things and building new skills from doing them. So we have a guy here, another F3 Bones, who also happens to be a chiropractor, has an outstanding business here in the Triad, takes care of people, Good Health Greensboro, just a phenomenal holistic care facility. He's actually helped my mom out in some way, shape, or form and got her back to moving around after a pretty bad fall. So a special place in my heart for our Bones as well as the nation's Bones too. So no shade there, Mr. Bones, in your podcast and your show. It's saving a lot of lives too. But Bones went and found himself in Southern Ohio, of all places, and had kind of an awakening of skills. And so without further ado, Bones, welcome to the Stuff Worth Trying show. If you'll rattle off a name-orama for us, please.
Thanks for having me, guys. My name is David Huff, 36, Bones. I think I did that right.
Bones.
Yep.
And I think it goes without saying, but since we are interviewing you, why don't you tell us how you wound up with that name?
So gosh, I was practicing in Shelby, North Carolina, so more towards your side, Italian Job, if you know where that is. Yeah, it's a little place. And I was just moved back to North Carolina. I'm from Greensboro. And was going to the Y to work out, and I saw these guys gathering in the dark, at this, in the town square with the flag. I'm like, what is that? And then, I moved back to Greensboro, and I was doing a race, and I saw a bunch of guys, and I'm like, those are those guys. So, yes. I came out the next weekend, I looked it up, I saw the shirt and looked it up, and showed up the next weekend, and it was actually just as of the 24th was 6 years. So, yes.
Outstanding.
Golf clap. Little golf clap action.
Outstanding. Bones has brought a lot to F3 Greensboro. I think all of us are basically keeping his business open because we all are, after any Iron Packs challenge every fall, I think we're all lined up outside of his office. Italian Job, that reminds me as I hear Bones tell his story, there's an online debate. Are there more doors or wheels in the world? But while you think about that, I'm wondering in F3 Nation, are there more chiropractic bones posting in the gloom or more lawyer Matlocks posting in the gloom?
Or, hey, you got to throw in a bogey, too. It seems like everybody's got a bogey. Anybody who plays golf, there's a bogey that runs in there. Hey, on the doors and windows. You don't have a bogey?
The doors and windows is very compelling. Next time you have a road trip, think about it, because you'll start wanting to lean towards wheels, but then you realize there's a lot of doors out there, too.
But you've got to realize, if you drive a sedan, or my wife has an SUV, that's 5 doors and 4 windows.
Correct. 4 wheels.
Oh, man, this is...
But
I'm sorry, yes.
Then you get into the motor, and there are wheels inside of that as well. Oh,
gosh. Oh, my mind is blown.
We'll save that for next week's podcast. We'll bring on 2 Matlocks.
A thing within a thing within a thing.
Yeah. I gotta get a top and spin it. This is... Is this real? Is this really... Is this really happening right now?
Yeah, we'll bring on 2 Matlocks and they can debate for us if there's more doors or more windows. Or more doors or more wheels. See, now you got me doing it.
Oh.
Bones, tell us about Southern Ohio and what happened there.
So I looked into this and always been interested. I was a Boy Scout a long time ago, and kind of their model is, be prepared. And so I'd always been interested in that and just being in the outdoors growing up in the Triad area here. And I watched the survival TV shows for fun, back when all that stuff was starting up and everything. And so one of the shows is called Dual Survival. And so like on the first and second season, they had this guy, Dave Canterbury, who is on there. And that's who has the class in Southern Ohio. He has a bunch of land and he teaches all these different survival skills kind of for different points. He has one for, like there's like a one you can bring your kids to, and there's more, from like a basic level, intermediate to advanced, where, they just send you out there with a knife, so to speak, and go figure it out. I'll see you in 5 days, kind of thing. And so, me being, I'm in my, mid 30s, and I have a young, my 2-0, he's 3. And, with my wife and my business, and, I try to be very intentional with my life. And so, I'm knowing that down the road, we're going to want to take more vacations. You were talking about, traveling the world. Well, we want to, try and do that. And so, if I'm going to go over there and do that, I thought, well, gosh, like we might be out in some strange place where I don't know where I am or what's going on, or our guide may be good or not good, And so, they kind of you're the person you fall back to. And so as, within F3, I really like the idea of the high impact man, right? And so, if stuff were to, not go well, or, a situation happens, I want to be able to step up, not just, hey, I'm willing to step up, which is wonderful. And that's probably one of the biggest things. But behind that, I want to have the practice skills to deliver upon that, and the knowledge about, okay, which way is north, south, east, west? Because you ask young people, they don't know which way. I go left or right. They don't understand that, right?
Whatever Siri tells me to do, that's where I go.
Yeah. Siri says 300 feet, turn right. Yeah, right. Yeah, correct. So that's one thing that I found wanting to do and be able to step up to the plates. If something were to happen. And I think that in F3 that's a good kind of incubator to work on those kind of skills with other guys. And so I just kind of it was a hobby of mine, and so I went and took this basic survival class in which it's very gear dependent. You buy a lot of things for it. The higher class, like I said, here's your knife, good luck, kind of thing. So but no, in that class, and what I really think with that one is it's what I like about it and why I wanted to bring it is it's a small kind of kit you guys can stick in the back of your car. You can have with you wherever you're going, right? And, going through learning these skills, if something, happened, Dave calls it, you're inconveniently camping versus you're surviving. Right, and I think that's a big shift right there, where, okay, like you've already gone through these skills, so when you pour stress into the equation, you've already practiced how you're going to respond. You know with these skills, you're not figuring it out for the first time, and if you and your aunt and kid are on a vacation and you go off some road and your car breaks down, you're not capping at each other. Right, it's just like, here's a team, here's how we can do it. You're the calming influence to help the situation. And so I just see it as being responsible. And so that's why, I really liked it and wanted to go do this class.
Yeah, I love the concept of, getting the preparation in before the test. I mean, the test is coming, but you might want to go and practice the questions before they happen, because the worst thing you want to happen is when the stress is turned up, when the anxiety is turned up, when there's low visibility, high stress, and you've never been there before. You don't want to freeze. When you're in charge of everybody in your stead, everybody behind you, your family, you don't want to be there and say, I don't know what to do. You want to be prepared. You've done that testing in advance. So tell us about this basic survival course. Like, what kind of things did you learn, and what kind of things could guys take home with them? You mentioned kind of a pack in the car, that kind of stuff. So give us a kind of a rundown of what you learned and what other guys could take from this conversation.
So in his class, and he has a great YouTube channel, which I can share with you guys as a resource to look into this stuff, so you can do that for free. Go look it up right there. But I'll kind of go over the basics of his class. And so he talks about what he calls are the 10 C's of survival. And so, one of them is a thing like a cutting tool, a cover element, something for combustion, right? Like making fire. Right, any type of a container, holding water or other things. Cordage, is very, very helpful to make and fasten things. There's also, he talks about things like, those are kind of the main 5 C's. There's kind of an extra set beyond that. You want to have something made of cotton, right? Because you can turn that into a char material that instantly takes a spark, which is pretty cool when you get to do it. It's kind of fun. A kindling device, so it's some kind of light. One of the other guys at the story that kind of motivated him to come out is he was hiking with his daughter, and it got dark, and they went back to the car, and he didn't have a light. Like, oh, okay. I'm walking in the dark. I don't know where I'm at, right? That's scary, right? It could be something, that could happen in your city, right? In the woods around your town, not just in BFE, right? Okay. A compass, right? Being able to, know how to self-navigate, and then some kind of a needle for repairing or, your gear, stuff like that. It's kind of the basics of it. They go into things like first aid, when you're out there, the biggest thing is, like a cut or a mechanical injury that's going to, injure you. He talks about one thing that I didn't know about, but now it makes better sense. Kind of the biggest thing you're really fighting when you're in a survival situation is core temperature control. So whether you're in the desert and it's too hot and you're going to sweat out and, boil yourself, or you're in the Arctic and it's cold and, you get in water, you're going to freeze in 2 minutes. Right. And so it's just really, if you can maintain that, you're going to survive. And most folks in it, and kind of what I've learned is, I need to bring a ton of food and a ton of water. Well, in these classes, you don't get so much time to do that. And it's actually pretty amazing. You're carrying around days worth of food on your body in the form of body fat, that they kind of start teaching you that you can do that, and that was one of the parts of the training went through is, kind of these deprivations from things like coffee and sugar and other stuff like that, because when you're in a survival situation and you used to pound Starbucks and you don't get your Starbucks, you're a little extra cranky, because not only are you surviving, but you're coming down off of caffeine and sugar and all these other things. And so that was a whole nother element that I didn't think about as far as survival. They teach you how to use your knife safely and cut and, do different kind of maneuvers. That's called a chest lever, where you can cut wood and safely take things, to make equipment or whatever you need. They talk about, so the basic shelter needs, he's kind of got 5 things for it, but something that you sleep in, on, under are kind of the main parts. And then you want, the proper amount of insulation or loft to keep you warm when you're out there. One of the things you learn about is, when you are camping, whether it's just for fun or for inconveniently, you want to look at different types of, choosing where your camp is. And so that they trained us on, okay, is there wood nearby to make a fire, right? Is there water nearby? Because water's one of the really important things in survival, more often than food many times. What are the weather conditions? Is there a widowmaker, aka a dead tree that can fall on you and come down and get you, right? And are you camping on a game trail where a deer is going to come in the middle of the night and run you over or something like that? So those are kind of some of the main things. They did go into things like, okay, so when you do find water, right, they teach you the proper way to get it, not just dunk your thing in there and scoop it out, to look upstream or downstream, make sure there's not a dead animal or a chemical plant, or if you found that, maybe you can go home. But how to find that water and then properly clean it. And so when they're kind of in the class, it's over a 3-day period, and so it kind of they start you basic and they progress you up. And so at the final night exercise, you have to go out and navigate with the compass certain points. They give you kind of the this point, this many feet, and you gotta find your way. If you get lost, you're lost, you're screwed. Okay. Right. But yeah, so they have you navigating and like gathering wood, along the same way. And we're like filling up these, 55-gallon, contractor trash bags full of sticks. And then, when we get back, we can dump them down and make a fire and then boil our water. And so they train you these skills in a timed way. So they're adding that element of stress for when, if you were in an uncertain thing, okay, I know how I'm going to do with these things. You don't necessarily need to do them as fast as they teach you to do them, but they're giving you that stress one. And so you learn how to do, fire with a ferrocerium rod where you scrape it and it shoots out this really hot spark and that starts a fire. From, how to use like a Bic lighter, which is the best thing ever. I really appreciate this guy so much more. When we do that, we took a recent class where we did the bow drill, and like that's really hard. But this is a pretty damn good thing. And they teach you how to, like, if it's wet, how to get it, dried out. So, it fell in the water. I don't know what to do. I'm screwed. You can save it, and so there's these little skills that people just might not know about, that can get them in trouble. And like using like duct tape right here, that was one of the things they had on the list there. But it's a fire extender, so you can, use this to repair your bag or whatever, or, it's kind of wet. So, all right, I'll light the duct tape on fire and that will help me get bigger steps to get a bigger fire. And so, anyways, all these different skills that they take you through, from navigating to, learning about different plants and just gathering it and you're with a partner the whole time. And so I think that's really important, because then you also have to work on your communication and your politeness and other things that you might forget about, when you're go.
Hey,
it's interesting, as you're talking, I think a lot about, everything from Go Ruck and Grow Ruck to just this past weekend, the Barkleys were run, right? And all the news was finally, for the first time in history of the Barkley Marathons, a woman won. Or woman completed the race, I should say. Others also completed. And wayfinding, something as quote unquote simple as wayfinding, and how unknown of a skill that has become. IJ talks a lot about being able to serve your family when it comes to running through the airport. Can you heft your bags and get them from point A to point B without having to make it a big deal? Because if you're under stress, you're going to take it out on somebody, and generally it's somebody that or it's the poor soul at the gate. And every time people come out after completing these trials, the level of heightened awareness and in some instances self-care, right, and care for others is really what they take away. I can't believe I did this thing I never knew how to do before, and now I have all of these skills. You carry a 2-ton telephone pole around with a group of guys or a group of folks if you're doing a Go Ruck, and suddenly the cinder block at Iron Packs Challenge is not that big of a deal as it was in your head before. It's still 35-ish pounds, but you've realized that you're capable of so much more. I also think too, as you mentioned, food and water, this idea of what hunger actually is and how far we can sustain ourselves, how long we can sustain ourselves once we break through the status quo, which is really, in essence, through the leadership skills and personal development, what F3 is all about. We're trying to disrupt this thing that we've been told is normal, and we should all fit ourselves into that box. And then you realize you're just stacking boxes at that point, and you're wondering why you don't feel fulfilled. So you came back to Greensboro. I know you took another PAX member, Radiator, to another event, if I'm not mistaken, another basic level event.
Yeah, Mm-hmm.
And then you put it to test not too long ago with the whole group of guys for the winter camp hike. So why don't you talk about, surely there had to have been one or two aha moments when you were at that camp hike and being able to apply it and thinking, man, if I hadn't done this, then blank wouldn't have been possible.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, so just having those skills and getting to practice them was fun and fulfilling just from going through that. But yeah, I mean, it was a lot easier to get to set up a shelter. All the guys had a tent, I had a hammock. And so, I did this little ridge line thing that gets it super tight and had the top on there and all my things, and was able to, practice making the fire. And there's this thing called Fatwood. It's like a resinous kind of wood. It's found in pine trees. Anyways, it's like gasoline.
That would be a great F3 name, by the way, Fatwood.
Yeah, well, actually, we ended up naming the guy that. We took 45 minutes to name him. It was horrible. But we ended up naming him Fatwood because we were just loopy or something. But yeah, anyways, but yeah, he got named Fatwood.
By the way, can you yell that out at church if you see a guy walking? Hey, Fatwood! Is that frowned upon, or just
only if he's wearing flannel?
Asking for a friend. There you go.
But no, it was fun because I was able to, get the fire going for the guys at the camping trip, and so it was more kind of, we backpacked. I mean, it was like an hour straight up. We were hiking with bags. I mean, it was pretty physical. But anyway, when we got to the campsite there, always lifts all the guys' mood, and they just had a lot more fun, and it was really rewarding just to be able to, do something that I had practiced or learned at the class there to, get a fire, because no one brought a pile of gasoline with them, to make the fire. More
Gallon trash bag full of gasoline like the pandemic.
I got some oily rags in my bag. Would toss those in.
But no, it was really fun just to have those skills, and you feel more at peace and ease, and you can just enjoy things. It's something you were just saying a minute ago, Tom. Boy, really got it. Like, yes, these things are physical that we do, but it really kind of for me, what I feel is it unlocks something in your mind. It might be in reality 20 to 30% physical, and the rest of it is you just not giving up, right? Mm-hmm. Is really what it is. And so I think that, that mental kind of, yeah, you got to train for these things and skills. And like when I was in the class, ropes, like knots are another language, how you tie those darn things together and do it. Cause if you ever try to watch some video and you're going to spend like 30 minutes for a 2-minute clip on trying to figure out.
You're going to rewind the same thing 14 times. How did he weave that one piece in? Yeah.
Right. Yeah, and that was big. But also, you were talking about wayfinding. That was the real thing that really kicked my butt the first time I took it, because I'd never, I'd never used a compass, and then you got to do that and count your pace. Oh, but there's a ditch and there's a bunch of briars. I don't want to walk through briars. You got to go around it and keep your pace while you're moving quickly, like a 15-minute ruck pace, right? You're moving fast through woods, up and down, right? And then you're like, oh, I forgot my count.
Mm-hmm.
Crap, right? And so that's just it's a physical, mental balancing act that. And that's what I really learned. And yeah, through working out, I was, my physical preparation got me, confident enough so I can go do these things that are hard and are challenging my skills and my thought process. And when you get a blow where, man, like we didn't get water, we were supposed to get a deliverable, we didn't get water, I'm like, dang, or we didn't get back in time. I'm like, man, I'm slow. Like all these things start stirring in your head. And so if that were a survival situation, like a real one, like if you give up, you don't come home, right? And so that's one of the big purposes of the class that I learned, is that, things aren't going to go your way, and you need to be able to turn it around. And so that was kind of, I guess, the higher level exercise I got out of it, other than the physical skills of doing the things.
Ajay, I know that you have a quote unquote office job and you traverse back and forth into Charlotte, but I also know that you carry quite a bit of everyday, EDC supplies that you've got in your bag. I do the same thing at the farm, but talk a little bit about how your preparedness, using one of our F3 chapters in Q-Source, how preparedness impacts your day to day.
Yeah, so I have a few different ways how I prepare. One, in my everyday carry and in my truck, I always have a tarp, I always have cord, I always have a knife, I always have a lighter. I have hand sanitizer I can use as another flame starter. I have ropes, I have cords, I have what could get me through if I were on the side of the road. Of course, I have a jack for my vehicle. I have all those things. I also keep an extra battery to charge my phone, because we're so used to having these in our back pockets. But I also always carry an extra rechargeable battery, so I have that readily available. So that's kind of my everyday carry in my truck and in my ruck that I carry into work. But also at the house, I have an emergency preparedness kit for storms. So I have headlamps, I have batteries, we have food and water, canned goods, and we have all those pieces. I have MREs. I've just always had those. I always have those readily available. I have a radio, a AA. I use regular batteries for a radio, because if we lost all communication and power, I still want to know what things are looking like. One of the tricks that I've learned is I'll take a gallon jug of water and I'll put my headlamp on that gallon. I'll turn the headlamp in so it lights up and makes a huge lantern. The kids love it, because if you pull out the jug of water, a headlamp and a jug of water seem like they have no correlation. But when you put the headlamp on it, it'll light an entire room like a lantern. So that's pretty cool. But I always have that storm kit. It's magic. Everyone come gather around. Let me show you a trick.
Lumos.
That's right. I think it's important to have that preparedness, to be prepared for the unexpected. Prepare for what you can, the expected, and then be prepared for the unexpected. I think it's amazing how resourceful we can be when need be. Pieces of things that you overlook on a regular routine basis. A toilet paper roll and some lint out of the lint trap. You keep that together and you've got a great fire starter. I mean, these are things that you have and that you just look past on a daily basis until you need them. All of a sudden, if something really went down, that wooden chair, that could make for a pretty good fire. If you need it, you've got it. But I think it's important to be prepared. You never know what's going to happen. The three of us are probably the same way. In a restaurant, you're constantly looking around for the exits. I look for fire extinguishers. I look for emergency exits. I look for AEDs. I look for somebody that might look a little sketchy. Not that I'm the most imposing person, but I want to be prepared. I would love for my family to be completely oblivious and enjoying dinner. So I'm going to keep my eyes on the exits and see what's going down so they can enjoy their meal. I just think it's important to be prepared, and going through these courses like Bones has talked about, these are just, like I say, it's just another tool in the toolkit. It's better to have these skills and not need them than to need them and not have them. Two is one and one is none. So having these things in your repertoire will really get you where you need to be. Tommy Boy with Go Ruck, you've done a lot of these events. Is there anything special that you keep in your ruck that a lot of guys don't? Is there something that you have that a lot of guys don't, and then you pull it out when it's needed and guys are like, that's something I need to put in my pack? Do you have anything like that?
Well, for a while before it was on the packing list, it was always cord, rope, right? I'm trying to think nowadays if I have anything in there that most guys don't, but as a trainer, it's usually my watch.
Yeah.
Because nobody gets to have a watch. No, but I think about too every day the things that translated from Grow Ruck into my EDC. I know I work on a farm; it's a little bit different. We're covering 90 acres daily, and there are things in there that just make my job and my day in, day out so much easier. But also when we have guests on the farm and families and things, there's a heightened level of confidence and security when we're taking them out and about and exploring what we have to offer, right? Because you just never know. Like you said, being prepared for the expected means you're trained when the unexpected occurs. And I think that's the missing link between, when Bones put out this course initially, it took a little bit of time for guys to get interested or even understand what he was. So we're going to go camping. I don't get what we're going camping, but then you realize that the Pathfinder school is those words. It's a school for Pathfinders, and he trains you up. I would argue that anybody who has run a Barkley Marathon or considers it, the first thing they do is figure out how to use that compass, or else you're not making it one lap around that course. Bones, we're cutting short on time, but in a few moments, if you will, tell us why this is stuff worth trying.
It's something hard to do, and I think hard things are important to do. We've talked about a couple of different ways, but whether it just gives you the peace of mind or the new pair of glasses to look at the world and notice items that can be helpful or not, your knowledge is very lightweight, is what they talk about in the survival community. And so when you have that knowledge, you gain that confidence, you know the items, you know how to use them, you can stick them in your truck, your car, whatever, and then you're just that much more ready to be there, and you can, be more at peace of mind, less anxious, and just, I think it's just being responsible.
Yeah, it's being the one in the room that people look to when there's help is being needed. Help is in need. IJ, usually I have you end it, but Bones has inspired me to remind folks who are dialed in of something that was very eye-opening for me. It came from a book called The Tech Savvy Family. That these things, these devices that we use every day, that we, as you said, are so reliant on, they're just that. They're a device. They require very low skill, if any. I could hand this to a 2-year-old and they would be entertained for hours just by poking at the screen, which is no different than what we as grown-ups usually do. We poke at the screen. It's the tools that require, even a shovel is a tool, requires a little bit of skill to operate it correctly and efficiently. And when you get into these environments where you are trained to use tools, suddenly your purpose and your value rises, because you are someone when the shit hits the fan, or when the plane lands and you got to rush from gate A to gate C on the other end of the airport, you can be relied on because you understand how to use the tools. You're not dependent on a device. So if nothing else, we're going to add all the links in the show notes. Check them out. There's YouTube videos galore out there on packing and preparing an EDC, an everyday carry bag. Don't go down the wormhole and trust everything. Find the tools you like, because these guys are making money. They want to sell the knife that they're being sponsored to hawk. So find the tool that you are comfortable with. Put it in your bag. Be prepared for it. Make sure you know how to use it. You could spend, as the guy said, a lifetime learning how to tie knots. Mm-hmm. So good luck with that. Tell your family you'll be gone for 7 weeks, and but train up and be prepared, because you're doing that so that when you're training for the expected, so that when the unexpected occurs, you have trained up in that as well. That being said, IJ, Bones, happy Good Friday to both of you. As we say in F3 Greensboro, and I'm sure because I follow IJ on Twitter, it's said in other regions too. But the whole point of this day is you have to understand that joy is big enough to encompass the entire human experience. And to reach those heights, you have to be familiar with touching the bottom. And the beauty of touching the bottom is the only way you can go is up. So gentlemen, grace and peace to both of you. Podpaxers, show watchers, NGNB Network, be good or be good at it.
Appreciate you, man. Thank you so much.